Welcome to Taking Healthy Back with Maria, with your host, Maria Malec, experience coach, conscience educator, and destination retreat host, presents to you countless ways to overcome an overwhelmed, overprocessed, and overmedicated lifestyle. She'll be covering everything wellness, from getting more from life than you put into it, destination retreats to healthy cooking and conscious education. So please welcome the host of Taking Healthy Back with Maria.
Happy Friday, Wellness Seekers. Good to be back. Have another engaging conversation today. And this is the place, Taking Healthy Back with Maria. I'm your host, Maria Malec. And this is the place where you are going to be introduced to all kinds of people and modalities that can help you overcome wellness and lifestyle hurdles in this world that we live in right now that's overstressed, overmedicated, and overprocessed. Today we have Coach Lisa Charles, and she's a wellness coach and trainer, but she's so much more than that. She's a former federal prosecutor and civil rights coordinator who has transformed her life into a beacon of health and wellness. As a certified wellness coach, trainer, author, and retreat coordinator, she brings a powerhouse approach to living an age-defying life. And I can attest to that. She is a powerhouse. She has also partnered with another woman and created a tribe called Reinventing the Woman. And we're going to unpack all that and find out how Lisa is impacting lives and helping others take healthy back. Welcome, Lisa.
Oh, I am so excited to be here. And thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Today's title for our talk is Becoming Her and How to Know When It's Time. And, you know, you went from law to the limelight, and you went from being an attorney to pursuing a career in singing and acting. What was the catalyst that pushed you to make such a dramatic career change, which is totally different than what you started with? So tell us about that, how you went from there to this.
Well, I love the question. And I'll say something to your audience. If you've ever had that big audacious dream and maybe it slipped through your fingers, or maybe you just started to ignore it because life started to take over. And for me, I was a seasoned federal prosecutor. I've been in that area for many years. My job was to take super bad people off the street, and I think society was better for it. But with that being said, there was a time when I asked myself a question. Is this it? Is this all? Does this really define me completely, me? And it was the best, most difficult, challenging, but enlightening question that I think as women, as people that are traversing generations of life, that we get a chance to ask ourselves. And for me, the answer was no, that wasn't all there was. And was I willing to explore more? And that was just a testament of a couple of things I know we're going to get into, but I figured out that there are different types of prisons. And of course, I was in the hard bars and, people going in, but then there's the self-imposed prison. And maybe, just maybe I was in one and I didn't know it. So for me, just leaving the practice of law was me stepping outside of a cell I put for myself, a limitation that I didn't even know I had put, maybe from childhood, other things that others' expectations of me that I was living. And now I was just going to live through my expectations for myself, which was just a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are two pretty polar aspirations. And you did experience a setback in that area and losing your voice. Explain in what way you lost your voice. I'm thinking figuratively and literally, and
Well,
how that impacted you and your decision to leave law.
well, I'm going to say, of course, I'll share my specific story, but I know so many of us hit a barrier in it, and it really can challenge us in our foundation. And so for me, it actually happened after I left the practice of law. I ended up getting into singing. I had always been a performer since I was very young. I used to do dramatic poetry reading when I was before the age of 10 and traveled with that. And so for me, there was always a passion about performance and acting and singing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I left the practice of law, I decided to go into it full time, which is not the typical journey, men's journey through legal profession, but
Right.
I loved it. I ate it up. I did everything from jazz performances. Singer heard me, a really famous opera singer heard me sing, and she said, "Boy, you could sing opera." She taught me opera. So at one
Wow.
point in this time, I was singing opera, I was singing jazz, I was doing off Broadway, had my own show that I traveled throughout New Jersey with. And I started having some vocal difficulties I ignored. So hold that thought. For a while, I tried to cover it over with some things that a lot of singers would do, which was taking antibiotics to get rid of hoarseness.
Mm-hmm.
My body rejected the antibiotic. I had a horrible infection. Took me at least a month to get rid of. That was from my throat all the way down, my vocal cords. And when I came back after that, I lost for temporary my speaking voice. So if you were right in front of me, you couldn't hear me. I thought you could, but I wasn't able to phonate through the sound with air. I had to go to a vocal coach healer to help me to speak, not even to sing.
Wow.
And so with that, if you can imagine, I left the practice of law. Okay. I was doing this, I was pushing myself because I felt I was behind the eight ball and doing some shortcuts on the singing career. And now it appeared that I didn't have that. I'm not a one to look back. I wasn't going backwards. So what do I do? And it was such a blessing. I look at it now, but I really had to ask myself, okay, instead of just jumping into something else to fill the void,
Right.
take a moment. And the one thing that I hadn't conquered, the one thing that I was with me for so much was my weight and was health. And so all I said was, okay, let me just focus on my wellness. And without an idea of this is going to be a career or I'm going to do X, I just wanted to get myself in a healthier state. And it
Sure.
was probably the greatest gift I gave myself. It was a year of figuring out food, understanding it as nourishing qualities of it as opposed to just something you do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, really got such a relationship with my body, with movement, with what that means. And I just feel by the grace of God, it gave me a pathway to something else that I was passionate about. And
Right.
so I say from the back of the Zumba room to the front of the Zumba room to then teaching Zumba, which got me into becoming a fitness instructor, which got me into becoming a health coach and a personal trainer. And so it just kind of naturally unfolded. And so now, I mean, my goodness, that portion of my career probably started about 17 years ago. Where I came in and I said, all right, let's make a business out of it. So there's a big difference between like the passion and the business, but
Sure.
that true shift.
So that my question is, because I look at how our body responds to things that are going on out there in our life and in our environment, do you feel that there in some way, losing your physical voice was perhaps a result of maybe you didn't feel heard in your life, that it was kind of a metaphorical manifestation of you didn't feel heard and then you lost your voice. Is that a legit question?
It is so legit, and I'm gonna tell you, Maria, I've never really thought of it that way.
Mhm.
I often talk, and so now, I do a lot of public speaking, and I often talk about a very traumatic time in my childhood where I was just bullied terribly for a year. Mindful
Mhm.
was fourth grade, but those things stay with you if you don't put them in their proper place.
Yep.
And during that time, I wasn't heard. I I didn't know how to defend myself. I wasn't one that fought back, so that wasn't me.
Mm.
Um, and there was so many scars that were left from that because I didn't defend myself, because I didn't stand up, because I didn't, very judgmental on myself. So what career did I pick first? Well, I was a prosecutor. Why? Because I could stand up for people, I could give them voice.
Mm.
I would always do things that allowed me now to do what I didn't do before. Some people say singing and performing is so different from law, but it's really the same. Like I was a courtroom lawyer, I was always performing. So for me to come on a stage to do that, that was just a natural extension of using my voice in a way that I didn't when I was younger, in a way that was healing to others, and the
Right.
things that I would have wanted for myself, that I could
Hmm.
be a voice for that. I think losing my voice, and of course, when we're going through things, we don't think of it as a gift, but I think of it as a gift because I had to be quiet and I
Right.
had to not fill the space with just other noise or do something instantly, or I the voice takes time to heal. So
Yes.
whether I thought it should be done in a week or a month, whatever in my mind I had to listen and let my body take the time it needed to one. I was really concerned about speaking. Like first I was like, okay, singing, yeah, but the speaking,
Right.
I have to be heard.
Communication.
Oh my gosh, to a communicator, not to be heard is like, you just start to see that maybe life is really going to be so different than you can even imagine. So to get that back and then to say, okay, boom, I'm going to get my singing voice back. And I'll share this with you. I went back, I was doing a lot of off Broadway and I had been considered for some Broadway shows. And I went to an audition. This is after all of this happened and I started getting my singing voice back. I had the high notes, but there was an area of my voice that just wasn't back like it was.
Right.
And uh, a woman on Broadway heard me and she said, why don't you go to my pianist and maybe he can help you on these areas. And I went to him and I will never forget. He looked at me and he said, your vocal days are over. Your voice it can't come back. And I was so devastated because this was a high
Hmm.
level pianist. So of course he would have
Sure.
to know, right? How can I go against him? And it's one of those things to say that you have to watch the people you hear and you have to
Oh,
watch what you do with the things that are said to you. What I have come to realize is what he was really and should have said is, I can't help you. That's a whole different thing.
yeah.
I can't help you, but maybe there's someone else that can. And that's a lot for a professional to be able to admit that they can't do all. So I'm
Right.
happy to say that I'm in vocal lessons now. So I am getting, nothing is ever dead unless you declare it that way. Um,
Hmm.
Life, we have so many seasons and opportunities. And so I look at that as one of those things of, facing a demon, a fear, however people call it, and making sure that you really leave no stone unturned. If you have something that is standing before you and your
Hmm.
ultimate greatness, go back, and take care of it. There's nothing that's impossible. So I'm dealing in that right now, which is kind of wonderful. But I thank you, Maria, for that question. I had not thought about that in that way about the
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah, I mean, so many things that you said in the past couple of minutes. I got chills because, and to me, that's you're speaking truth. And even though he said he couldn't help you, he really did help you because for us to heal, a person like that just leads us to ourselves. You know,
Right.
we're really the ones who are healing ourselves, and they're just guides. And this leads me to the question. I wasn't even going to go here yet, but there's so many women I believe in the world right now who don't feel heard,
Yeah.
who and don't know where to go to feel heard, or even to go look for their passion or what their purpose is. And that's where I believe your group, Reinventing the Woman, comes in. I just love it because I see so many women looking to reinvent themselves, but they don't even know where to start. And
Yes.
so, how does all that you've done, the setbacks, the other career you had, how did that lead you to forming this group with your partner, Christine?
Well, I'm going to say God is so good, richly throughout everything that I do. Um, I knew that one of the things that is, I like to say we all have secret sauce. Secret sauce is I can see in others sometimes what they can't see in themselves quite yet.
Right.
If that is an ability, then it is my duty to spread that as far and wide as I can humanly in the time frame that I have on this earth. And
Right.
so the idea was that there are these women out there, different stages of life, different journeys that they've gone on, different degrees of fear, because we all have it, different degrees of barriers that have stood in our way, which we all have, and different acknowledgments of the challenges that we have. We're all in different aspects, but what we
Right.
are commonality, women striving to do and be the best that we know how to be, and to do it not only just in our business but in our personal life, and
Mhm.
that's the spectrum of everything of living. And so, with that in mind, to have a forum where people could come as they are, where they are, at the level they are, and be with people that are on all different levels, and together we could ignite,
Right.
support, grow, um, deal with the difficulties, celebrate the triumphs, and
Mhm.
do it in a community. One thing that I know in living, we were never meant to do this thing alone. We were
Mm.
never meant to be alone. And alone doesn't necessarily mean the partner or, people have a concept.
Right.
Not that. It is the communities that you have, because in community, you can
Yeah.
find such a grounding of support, understanding, love, caring, compassion. We all need it. Reinventing the Woman, and Christy and I both met when we wrote our books. We were at the same publishing house. And we said, boy, wouldn't it be wonderful to have something that represents different ages? You all don't
Mhm.
see Christy, but
Yeah.
we're different ethnic groups, we're different age ranges, we're different experiences. And
Mhm.
yet we have a commonality of spirit, of passion, of determination to really spread this message as far as we can globally. And so it was not a hard thing. And I always say that to people, someone say, oh, I'm in this part of my business, it's so hard, it's so hard. Maybe that's not the right part of the business.
Right.
It's should not be. It can be work, don't get me wrong. You have to
Mhm.
work towards the things you want. But the hardness of it, the drudgery, the oh my gosh, this and that, it should be a joy, even in
Yes.
even in challenge. So we started, it's our second year. We do retreats every year. We're going to do indoor, yeah, in house, I want to say in person, 1 day events
Good.
around the country, which we're so excited about. Um, but the growth and also just the magnitude of love that's in this group, I could just talk about that. I love these
Right.
women and I'm excited for their next stages.
Wonderful. Lisa, we have to take a break, but when we come back, we'll talk more about the impact this group is having on a community of women. We'll be right back. Thank you. Can you be a planner and still be flexible, a little carefree?
Absolutely. Listen, I am a planner who lives in an RV, travels the country full time, homeschools my kids, and runs a speaking and coaching business. I have four children, ages 6 months, 6 years, 8 years, and 12 years old. I have to be flexible, but I also have to plan. I have to know my schedule in advance. I have to visualize. I have to have a to do list. And I have to know that there's going to be some moments where things are going to get shifted. So I know what my non negotiables are every single day. I know what can be pushed out to another day or another week. And those are the things that you have to be clear on. What's non negotiable and what things can be shifted around and flexible.
I think that God had to redefine what his definition of leadership was,
Mm-hmm.
because if you look at the world's definition of leadership, very often it can be position or power or posture or position or and every time you look at how Jesus led, it was always servant-hearted leadership. And
Mm,
it's so
servant leadership.
powerful. And it's like that means more to me as leadership. It started with me learning how to lead me well.
And I think leadership also means just being an example. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Lisa Charles on Reinventing the Woman. So the dynamic of the group, what's the kind of feedback that you're getting from them, and how are these women finding their purpose through the group?
So I love that. Feedback is incredible.
Mhm.
I think people recognize that it's so important to be in a diverse group. And I don't just mean the leaders, but I mean diverse of career and diverse of ages and experiences and parent and single and 20s and 60s and all shaken up together because what you realize is there's so much more you have in common than you don't.
Right.
And there's so many ultimate ways to support this journey called passion and purpose. So, from my vantage point, we are all on this journey. People, some don't even recognize they're on a journey of passion and purpose. So, there's some that have to come into understanding, some that understand their passion, but they just don't know how to get it up and running. They don't know how to connect.
Mhm.
They're missing an ingredient. Some that understand their passion, they're rolling in it, but now they really want to grow it into purpose. So there's this beautiful through line in that we have. And as a community, we can come in and support people on various parts of that gorgeous journey. We just had last spring. We did a wonderful retreat in the Dominican Republic. We do it every year. We always sell out. It's like 30 women. Incredible. It's a whole resort, so it's ours, and it
Oh,
was
nice.
passion and purpose. So for some, it was like, you know what? I've always wanted to be this speaker, but I've never, and to be able to do it in an intimate group in front of everyone and just do it and not talk about it, not talk about next year, not think about it, but giving people opportunity to not only say what their passion is, but actually live their passion. So if the people that are a part of it, they'll know me from, everyone calls me Yes Coach Lisa. Yes, Coach Lisa is going to be talking about the do. So if you tell me what you want to do, then I'm going to tell you, okay, so what is our plan and how are we going to make it happen? And how can others come in and foster you to even make it maybe even grander, bigger, or more special than you even imagine. So getting you to
Mhm.
think that expansive way that I believe God has us to think, and then knowing that we have your back. So I think sometimes we do the things that we didn't have. So I didn't have that when I was setting my business, and I didn't have people telling me, "Hey, oh, this is the hole that you have, and here's some people that can help fill that hole. You don't have to do everything yourself. You don't have to."
Right, right.
But we're not meant to
I
do it ourselves as business people either.
Okay, and that's a question that I have also. And I was raised to be a housewife, and I wasn't raised to have a career. And I don't know how many other women my age or, various ages were groomed in that way. And at this point in my life, I don't really want to start a career. Are there women in the group who are not business entrepreneur oriented, that are a part of the group just to help them, I don't want to say find themselves, but really be okay with where they are and not pursuing these big dreams, because there's a big push out there for women to be these, hardcore powerful women, empowered, which I want women to be empowered, but I don't believe everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. Are there women in the group who just want to be women or moms, or just be okay with where they are and give themselves permission? Does that all make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I'm going to say this and just expand it a little because I feel like all of us need to be okay with where we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have some people that are in a different season, right? And so we have some people some people call it empty nesters or whatever, little titles that we have to it. Right. And that's a very special season that needs to be nurtured and understood. But what I say to people that tell me, well, and I had a couple of women, it was really beautiful conversation we had on our last retreat, as a matter of fact. And some had said, I'm in this stage, I've already had a business, I've done a business, I've sold my business, or I left the business, or I retired, or what have you.
Mhm.
I'm looking to grow a business. But when I talk about business to me, and I'm so glad for that question, I think about the business of living. So it's
Ah,
how do you do your business, your spiritual life, your social life, your family life? Are you, as you were destined to be in all of those, being able to show up in the ways that is most humbly and also very authentic to you? Not everyone's way that they show up is not equal to someone else. But to allow that exploration as opposed to just settling for what you always the norm, what was expected of you when you were younger, or what you've grown to expect of you now. And we take those into other dimensions of our life. So it's, can you show up in these things
mm,
wholly, wholly who you are, and then explore relationships in a different way? And that could be family relations. We've had some things that we've done on forgiveness and kindness. And, how do you even, when people talk about their spiritual life, and some people had shared, I go to a church, I've been going to a church, but I don't really know that many people there. Why don't you know people? Well, I come in, I go out. Well, why do you come and go out? Well, sometimes that's what they want. But often it's a reflection of something else that they need to unfold and uncover. So in the business of living, we're all in it until we're not. And so there's,
right, right, right.
you can grow and blossom and see. I feel like it's like watering the flower of your soul. And there's
Love
endless
that.
garden. And if you don't water it, some things kind of like die out a little. So, but you can always replant seeds and grow something new that you never even knew was there. And that could be in a dimension of how you show up in the relationship with your children, your family, your grandchildren. So that
Mm,
of the business of living, I love, and I
love
am.
that. Yeah, I can't wait to experience one of your retreats. I know when we met that it was going to be too
Like,
close for me to join, but I just love that. And I never say that I have too many friends. And lately, because of the season I'm in, I am craving new friendships to expand on new ideas and to link arms with women because, in the day there used to be sewing circles, knitting circles, women just sitting around the table with a common goal, sharing dreams, grieving together, helping each other with their kids. And I really believe that's something missing in my life. And I'm sure maybe some women can't put their finger on it, but that's what they're really looking for is that whole community. Now, I know you're an author and you wrote a book. What's the title? And tell us how it can help us women figure out where we are. Oh, look at you, ready.
any good author has their book by them. But anyway, it is called Yes, Commit, Do, Live. And it is about how do you tie this brain body connectivity together in a way that is going to maximize happiness and really put you on the pathway of purpose. So I got into this really as a result of so much negativity and false information and
Mm-hmm.
fake platitudes that are out. You can just find them, just turn on your TV, or different groups that are supposed to be helpful, but they're not. And individuals you think are helpful and they're not. And on this, I don't say it's a weight loss journey, I say it's a lifestyle journey that I was on.
Yes.
I really found that I had lived for so many years in listening to others, craving something that really probably wasn't attainable because it was fake in the way it was presented. So I
Right.
was a yo-yo dieter. So I was all on all the diets and then all the quick fitness equipments that, do this for 1 minute and you will look like the actor that's
Right.
great on
Right.
the commercial. False. So once I really went through that and then had an opportunity, Maria, I think life is beautiful. So after I started my business, a woman that I met, and she was in a neurology department at Rutgers University. I met her. We had an amazing conversation. At the time, I was doing my business, my wellness business in the hospital. 2 years later, unrelated, she's leaving this position. I'm not a neurologist, so trust, but they decided to bring in a health coach to run part of the wellness programming for a study they were doing on Alzheimer's and dementia. And they were looking at why, first of all, African Americans, Black and Brown communities are twice as likely to develop this
Hmm.
very
Didn't
debilitating
know that.
disease. I didn't know that until I joined the study, and I didn't know the impact of exercise, and that's what they were studying. But we were also looking at other dementias. So if we look at just Alzheimer's and dementia, world globally, it is expanding exponentially, especially in this country, all colors and creeds. And so what I found was, wow, I was getting into the science of it. That was part of my job. I had to go to neurology symposiums and I learned, oh my goodness, sleep is incredibly important. And we know breathing is, but the way you breathe and how you breathe. And so, kind of pulling together exercise physiology with brain science and shaking it all up. And that's what this book is. It really is putting it in basic terms of these are the things. And if you can incorporate these things, easy breezy, really small changes that you can make infinitely large impacts on health and wellness long term. That was the heart of the book. And the yes was really just to let people tie into the yeses that you deserve to have for yourself. It is a big yes with an exclamation point, putting yourself first and allowing you just to go through the journey. of longevity.
Yeah, I think there's so much emphasis on achieving and producing and not enough on just being okay with who I am in this body and in my life. And you have a wonderful calming effect in your presence. And even here, like I just feel nice and mellow and calm, probably because you are finally comfortable in your own body and pretty secure in your beliefs and practices. And I'm assuming that you take a holistic approach in no matter what you do.
Exactly.
It sounds like to me.
It's a very
And to help women get to that point, it is such a beautiful thing. I'm finally getting to that point in my life, finally putting up the proper boundaries and things of that nature. So, how do you integrate your holistic approach into the other things that you do outside of this woman's tribe?
right. So, the heart of my business, I'm consultant, and I love very integrative, innovative wellness programming. It has to be something that's a part of every part of your life.
Right.
So I am a non-silo individual. People will have like, oh, well, this is my exercise time, and then now
Right.
I'm in a relationship, and now I'm at work, and all of these things are just separate. And
Compartmentalized.
there's only one person. You are one entity. So you can put those things there, but if you don't show up as the whole person, nothing
Yes.
will ever be pleasing to you. Forget about anyone else. You're going to feel unsatisfied in your
Yes.
family life, in your personal life, in your spiritual life, whatever life part you have compartmentalized, until you really show up. And that's why I love one of the things I had done a lot of research on is really the concepts of forgiveness and
Mm,
love, of kindness, not only as wonderful, wonderful platitudes, and yes, we should all strive for these, but these are scientifically driven terminology. That's the difference
yes.
between someone living a peaceful and happy life to someone in constant turmoil and stress and anxiety. And so, in part, the way, an easy way to integrate is to really take these concepts that seem so foreign, but
Hmm.
start to apply them every day. So, I love with kindness, the kindness moments. And you say to yourself, today I'm going to have 4 kindness moments. Now, mind you, might have 25, who knows? But you're going to say minimum, I'm going to have 4 kindness moments. That means that you're intentional about how you show up, about what you see, about how you speak to someone or interact with others. And if you can do that successfully, not only does it have lasting, beautiful health implications for yourself, taking it on, looking at really trying to honor this body that we've been given, but look
Yes.
what you've given to the world, and look what you've given not only to the individual that you bestowed this kindness on, but every single person that saw it gets
Right.
an actual impact in their body. That's
Yes.
incredible.
It
So I
is.
incorporating things like that, laughter. I could go through science and laughter, smiling, so much easier to smile than frown. Bringing those components can not only enrich others that are around you, but it enriches you, your health, and no one can tell me that it's hard to do. So
Yeah.
I love and I really focus on as a woman I'm going to be working with. I was talking to this morning that I'm very, very busy and I have all this. You can be very busy. I get
Yep.
it. But I'm going to give you things that you cannot tell me that you did not have time to do. And so
Yes.
taking really principles like that and integrating it from the morning to the evening, you will
Yep.
start to see that you want to show up in the world more. And when you show up more, certain health dividends, certainly mental and emotional health dividends are going to start to pay off for you.
Yes. And I used to be that compartmentalized person. And no matter what I was doing, I always felt like, when's the shoe going to drop or what's the next thing? And I wasn't really being present there because I believed that I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. And I was always looking and searching, for the next thing, the next dopamine hit, if you will, to make me be okay at that time.
Ugh,
And I love all the things that you talk about when I'm talking to people too. I bring in those aspects of laughter and smiling and, all those things that we kind of take for granted and being intentional about those different acts during our day. And I love that. I don't like to be a slave to the box.
I don't.
And with that, Lisa, we have another break. We'll be back in a minute, but let's everyone think about that for a minute and let it sink in. We'll be right back. Thank you. I like the way you dig really deep. Why? And do you find that your clients don't want to dig deep? They don't even have the answers?
Yeah, such a great question. And the answer I would say that's a hard yes. And it's a hard yes because these are painful situations. These are
Mhm.
painful situations that sometimes, most of the time, we don't want to talk about. We avoid at all costs. We've literally, our subconscious mind has locked that door. And a lot of times we don't even know. So a lot of times when I get to the third time I ask them why, they're like, you know what, I never really thought about that because it's locked away in your subconscious. So I'm literally, I'll force people to go through doors that they don't want to go through. And a lot of times it'll lead back to people's childhood. Like I'll
Mhm.
talk to someone and like, well, well, growing up, I didn't have a father, so I just felt like I wasn't good enough. So like we'll get like really, really deep. And when you start getting deep like that, like I don't have to motivate them anymore. And a lot of times this is a huge eye opener. They're just like, wow, I didn't even know that. I wouldn't say it was because women were complaining about their men, although that definitely was happening. Um, I just seen the need more than ever. There's a lot of men that are lost, and I was that man. By the way, I was the man who didn't know how to lead in a relationship, didn't know how to lead in a marriage, didn't know how to lead financial. Like, so I was that man. But, over the years, working on myself, I learned what it really meant to be a man. I learned what it really meant to be a leader and provider and a protector, which I didn't know what that was before. I thought I did, but I didn't. And then looking out into the world, there's people in that space that are guiding men, and some of what they say is good, but then a
Right.
lot of what they say is it's not good. It's almost like it pits men and women against each other,
Oh.
and that's not good. We need each other, and it's my belief that women are they're just unbelievable. They're just unbelievable creatures. Like God was not playing when He created them.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking with Lisa Charles. And let me just say that this conversation today feels like a warm hug. I really like, I feel where your heart is. And it's really so beautiful and very authentic. And while it's intentional, it's not forced. So I just wanted to give you that feedback that, the first time I met you in person, I felt the same way. And I think you carry that through your whole life. And, you know, having overcome the different struggles that you have gone through, it's clear to me that they have shaped this persona of yours and who you reflect to the world. What advice do you have for a woman who doesn't know how to start or doesn't know how to come fully into themselves? What is the first thing that you would recommend for them to get started on feeling better about who she is?
I mean, I know I said this before, but Maria, I love that question. I think that asking the question is probably one of the things that most people don't give themselves the grace to do. So I want
Yeah.
you to ask the question, who am I? Like, who
Yeah.
am I? And give yourself the grace to say that it's going to be a lot of different components, and that's okay.
Hmm.
Um, I like to start with the question of what are the things about you that no one can take away? Because a lot of people, times people will put people close to them, their family, their children, their grandparents, their parents, da 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 da, their job, their things, but those are all outside of you, and they're beautiful, and they are a part, but they're not at the core of who you are, because who you are is something that if all went away, you're still there. The fire is still there. And so it's going to rest in the heart. Some things you don't give yourself permission to even say out loud. But that's when you start to be able to say, like, what are my loves, and what are things I'm passionate about? And even drilling in deeper, what are the components that make me uniquely me, my capacity, for instance, compassion and kindness and love and caring and giving and trustworthiness and,
Mm.
honesty, and all of these components that are so much of us. We show it in different ways, and some of us really extremely on kindness, and some of us on trustworthiness, and so they're all a part, but sometimes we don't take the moments to honor those pieces.
Right.
And as you do that, and I say flex the moral muscles. So when
Okay.
you say, boy, patience isn't, or trustworthy isn't, and you start to say, today I'm just going to work on that. Like, I'm just going to do some things that are going to make me, and start to celebrate those things that you start to discover.
Hmm.
Once you start there, and it's really a beautiful place to start, you get strong to start to take on the big thing, which I call forgiveness. It is a huge thing.
Hmm.
People wear things around their neck like I always liken it to, if you've ever gone out on a boat and there's an anchor and the chains can just be wrapped around, and you're holding on to things, individuals, events that are literally dragging you down. So you're
Yeah.
holding on to it. The other person or event is past, but you're holding on to it as if it happened 5 seconds ago. So that capacity to forgive, and it doesn't mean you forget, and it doesn't mean that you absolve. It means that you no longer, as a human being, are going to hold on. So you start to get into those things that are going to give you the big F word. And for me, the best F word ever created is freedom. So let me be clear, that's my F word.
Okay.
Freedom that unchains you, and just starting on those components. And I know I said them as if it's one, two, three, but that's what
Sure.
I love leading people through, is you're giving yourself the grace to actually work on it. I often say, we read a lot of books. There are books we could probably quote and say, wow, that was the best. But the best book, the most exciting book, the most adventurous book, with highs and lows and everything in between, is the book you're writing of your life, chapter by chapter, word by word, breath by breath, every moment of every day. And when you start to think about that, you become invested to know that the heroine of your book, it's important for you to understand her, for you to
Right.
embrace her, for you to celebrate who she truly is. And you got to
Right.
take a journey for it.
And I'll say, for my own book, that I'm finally coming to is just don't look from the left to the right. Comparison is the thief of joy. And I think with the access to social media as we do, it lends to more comparison than we've ever had, growing up. And I love that. The greatest book you're writing, and focus on you.
Yes.
And then things will happen, and people will show up, and opportunities will show up, and you'll finally be comfortable in your life with who you are. And you know I'll be 60 next month, and I'm like, wow, it took me 60 years to get to this point. And like you said, there's so much freedom. It's revolutionary freedom. And the fact that you could help women get there quicker than, 30, 40 years is really commendable. And we are finished with our time today, but I will include your information, your book, where they can contact you, because I think at least having a conversation, I know having a conversation with you like made me feel better in my own skin. Like, oh, okay, I'm not doing so bad. We all need things that need to be tweaked. And like you said, someone else can see something in us that we can't see because we're so close to who we are. And I really just appreciate your time and coming on here, and the relationship that we're still growing and nurturing together. And I'm hoping to bring our different communities together so that they can enjoy the benefit of who you are and what you offer to this world and taking healthy back. So thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Maria, for having me. And I will say this: anybody that even wants to experience reinventing the woman, just through you, I would love to gift them a month free, just to come in to experience it and see if
Oh,
it's something
beautiful.
that
Thank
takes
you.
them out. But yes,
Yeah. I'll include that in the description of this. I will be uploading this to YouTube, and I'll be sharing it on social media. So I know people are going to love you the way I do and appreciate what you offer to the world. Thanks so much for joining us today in our conversation, and we'll see you next week on Taking Healthy Back with Maria. Thank you.
This has been Taking Healthy Back with your host, Maria. Tune in each week as Maria will empower you to put your wellness in your control, right here, Fridays, noon Eastern, on the Bold Brave TV network.